Two events have changed my life more than anything else: the birth of my son and the release of the Insta360 Ace Pro. All right, that might be a little dramatic, but if you've spent any amount of time on the internet lately, you've probably seen more than one dramatic headline about the Insta360 Pro as being game changer, epic, worth its weight in gold, and so forth. And these and other cliche headlines are often used to get you to read the headline or watch the video. In some cases, those articles and videos are done without actually putting the product through its paces. People just, they rush out to, create a video to be the first one out there without actually spending any time really testing the item. But before I joined the Insta360 Ace Pro party and started singing its praises, I wanted to get out there and some real actual world experience with it so I could give you a genuine opinion about whether it was really a game changer or if those clickbait titles were just all fluff. So I have spent the last handful of weeks, the last month, testing the Ace Pro here in the studio and actually out in the field so I can give you a real world, meaningful feedback about its performance. I mean, frankly, it would be unfair to you if I didn't. In fact, most of the videos that you've seen over the last handful of weeks and all three of my channels have at least some footage taken with the Ace Pro. Now, additionally, I went to Texas to meet up with a client, and the Insta360 Ace Pro is the only camera I took with me. Now, this is a big deal because usually when I go traveling, I will have generally a couple action cameras and my R5 with me at the least. But like I said, I wanted to have some real time with the Ace Pro out in the field to test it out. And what better way to do that than as my primary camera? So today, friends, I'm going to discuss its specs, its features. I'm going to show with you footage from my testing and offer my thoughts about whether the Insta360 crushed it or they missed the mark. All right, friends, before we go diving into this any further, I do want to point out I didn't buy this camera. Insta360 gave me this camera. This is not a paid review. They just gave me the camera so I can get out there, play around with it, beat the hell out of it, and create a review. And yeah, what's funny is when we initially made the announcement on our Photography Talk episode, I said I was going to come out with a video on this thing in a week or so. And I've spent a month with this because I started noticing things about this camera early on, and I wanted to spend more time with it to be able to substantiate what you're going to be hearing from me here today. So let's get on with it. Now, many of you know, if you watch this channel for any duration, when I review a new product, I like to set the stage by discussing some of the basic specs. And so this review is going to be no different. So what does the Ace Pro have underneath its hood? Now, it's got a 1/1.3-inch sensor. Now, this is co-engineered by Leica with a max photo resolution of 48 megapixel. Now, there are several video resolutions are available, including 8K at 24, which is the first in the action camera genre. You also can shoot 4K 120 and 1080 at 240. Now, there is a 16 millimeter lens, which is 35 millimeter equivalent. There's also, if you flip it over on the back side of this here, let's fire this bugger up. There is a 2.4-inch touchscreen. Now, this is the largest among action cameras, which incidentally flips up so you can use it in selfie mode. Now, Insta360 has incorporated an array of 3 microphones to assist with the audio capture. You have one right down here, you have one right up there, and you have one right over on the side. Now, there's also 3 audio modes in this. You have wind reduction, stereo, and directional focus. On the bottom, there's a multi-mount system, which is magnetic for added functionality. Now, there's also many different mounts for using the camera on a tripod, selfie stick, and for specific sports like surfing and cycling. And actually, while we're chatting about this, so this is the little mount that you're going to get with this thing here. And just to clarify, when they're talking about magnetic, it is not held on here by magnets solely. The magnet just kind of helps guide these little, if you look at this right here, you can see these little hooks on both sides. So the magnetic just kind of guides that into where it's supposed to. Oops, if I can get it on there straight. Boom. And that locks it in right there. So yeah. And then, of course, talking about connectivity, you have things like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and USB-C. And actually, the USB-C is right over underneath door number 1, right next to the memory card. Now, you can actually export files in any aspect ratio, both horizontal and vertical formats. Now, there is if we flip it over here, you have a 1650 milliamp battery, which offers up to 100 minutes of runtime. Now, charge time is as little as 46 minutes with an optional 30-watt fast charging adapter. Actually, when you plug this thing in, I think it's like it'll charge 80% in like 15 minutes or something foolish like that. I'll put it on the screen, but it's blazing fast. Now, this bad boy is waterproof down to 33 feet without a case, but add a case and you can look for the mag down to nearly 200 feet. Now, this thing, as you would expect being an action camera, is lightweight. It only weighs like 6 ounces, so obviously very extremely portable. Yeah. As I said, just as you'd expect it. Now, the current price is $449.99. That is for the camera by itself. So that's the basics, which are pretty impressive on their own. However, this is really just the beginning of the story. Insta360 has really stuffed this thing with some pretty impressive features as well. But really, when you take the time and look at what's inside this camera, there are way too many features on this thing and it would take... Man, it'd be a 3-hour-long video explaining all of them. So for today, I'm going to zero in on the 3 features that I have found to be immediately impressive. So we're going to be talking about the Ace Pro low light performance, its dynamic range, which is amazing, and its stabilization capability. Now, the low light capabilities of this thing are astonishing. Really. Now, one of the first field tests that I did with this camera was at a local fair called Winterfest. So it gave me quite the opportunity to get some great low light footage and some footage in some very mixed lighting situations as well. Now, as you can see in the video on the screen, the quality is next level good considering how dark it was outside. Now, that big 1/1.3 inch sensor I mentioned earlier certainly helps with the low light performance, but 2 other features make that footage so crisp. Now, first, you have a 5 nanometer AI chip. Now, the chip helps reduce noise, produces much clearer and much cleaner video in low light situations. Second is the pure video mode, which uses AI power of the 5 nanometer chip to help you shoot high quality footage that is ultra sharp even when shooting at high ISOs. And really, it's hard to argue. When you look at this and look at the results, right? The combined power of the Ace Pro chip and the pure video mode really make it possible to get incredible low light footage with this camera. But then again, my incredible skills and intuition as a videographer really helped a lot. Just kidding.
That's not funny.
The same combination of the larger sensor and the AI chip give the Ace Pro next level dynamic range as well. And again, let's let the video tell the story. You can see how the Ace Pro was able to capture an enormous range of light values and maintain detail in the highlights, midtones, and shadows. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details on how the Ace Pro manages to maintain such a broad dynamic range, but I will say this, the dynamic range that you see on screen is a direct result of the 5 nanometer chip technology that we spoke about a moment ago that's underneath the hood of this camera. There's just so much data to work with, and I think you'll agree with me that the end result is crazy good. Again, when you factor this is coming out of an action camera. Now, I have to mention the flow state stabilization inside this camera as well. Insta360 describes flow state as smoothing out even the most intense bumps and shakes. And man, they are not kidding. On a recent day with my son, we rode around on go-karts after playing miniature golf, which was a perfect opportunity to test the flow state. So as you can see in the video, my arms are shaking with the steering wheel as we motor around the go-kart, but the video is silky smooth. But it isn't just flow state that's impressive. The camera also has something called 360-degree horizon lock, which, as you probably guessed, keeps the footage perfectly level no matter what you're doing thanks to its 6-axis gyroscope. So is the Insta360 Ace Pro fantastic, or is it a flop? I mean, really, after my real-world testing, I can honestly say that this thing is absolutely worth every cliche clickbait title that is out there. And I mean, it really is an amazing device to say the absolute least. The video quality at all resolutions is really good, including at low light situations where I've been absolutely super impressed with the ability to capture the scene without looking super grainy like something from a Blair Witch Project. And with the features like the Active HDR, which retains the details and highlights and shadows to produce better dynamic range and top-notch color accuracy, you can really rely on this camera to capture epic footage in all sorts of shooting situations. Heck, throw in other goodies like flow state, and I'd say the Insta360 Ace Pro not only meets the lofty heights of these clickbait titles I was referring to earlier, it really exceeds them. In my opinion, and just based on 4 weeks with this camera, I mean, I've tested all kinds of action cameras over the years, and this is among the very best that I've used.
Not bad, huh?
I mean, not bad, Insta360, not bad at all. Stay tuned for a future video on this bad boy in which I'm going to take a closer look at this camera and break down into more granular features that make it one of the most exciting cameras that I've tested in quite some time. Now, if you've watched this video this far and you find the Ace Pro intriguing, be sure to click the link in the description below to learn more. And hey, so you can snag one of these if you're so inclined. And while you're down below, I'd appreciate it if you take a second to give this video a big old fat thumbs up, or maybe a small one. Look, I don't judge. Your support is enormously appreciated, so be sure to drop any questions while you're down there in the comments below, and I will be happy, my friend, to address them. Now, as I'm wrapping up this video and getting ready to publish it, I took a quick break to watch some YouTube videos, and what do you know? Insta360 just published a video showing how they stress test the Ace and the Ace Pro cameras. Now, I put the Ace Pro through its paces over the last month, using it in various environments and throwing it around. I mean, it has battle scars to prove it, but I don't have the type of machinery or lab equipment that Insta360 uses to test the durability of these darn cameras. Heck, I had no idea that they even did this. Now, if you're seriously considering buying the Ace Pro, I strongly suggest you stay tuned and watch. It's a short 1.5 minute long video clip. I mean, it's really testament to the durability of this camera. Now, if you're not quite ready to invest in one of these Ace Pros, hey, that's okay. Skip the rest of the video and we'll be done. Thanks again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.